From the Tea Party, Pennsylvania Republican Senator Pat Toomey, who is on the trip and joins us right now. Senator, welcome.
Morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
No problem. I want to get your take on the debt ceiling and whether we should lift it or not from your perspective. But first things first, on the trip, was it part of it seeing the troops and part of it to sway you away from the Tea Party?
There was no discussion about the Tea Party whatsoever. It was a very, very rigorous, actually a pretty grueling couple of days, 3 or 4 days, but it was very, very helpful to get a better understanding of the challenges that we face, the tremendous progress we've been making recently, and the threats that still loom. But I left enormously impressed with the men and women in uniform who are doing a spectacular job. I think they're making real progress, but it is fragile. It's still reversible. Pakistan plays a huge role in making sure that Afghanistan is in a position to take over its own security requirements. But I'm cautiously optimistic. I feel better about Afghanistan than I did when I left, but I'm more worried about Pakistan than I was.
So is this just political gamesmanship that people would come out and say, hey, Mitch McConnell took these Tea Party people along to try and... Is that just one person's analysis as a way of trying to find something negative?
Absolutely. It's someone trying to come up with a story to try to divide Republicans from each other. Look, when we're at war, that's the most important decision we make. And how we handle that war going forward is the most important responsibility we have. And I just felt it was my obligation to understand this as well as I could and to have a chance to sit down with General Petraeus and get his input and that of the commanders in the field, and then to sit down with President Karzai and share with him my concern about the corruption in the Afghan government, which I did. That's just a really important experience, and it leaves me much better informed about this war effort.
Right. Let's talk about the debt ceiling. Everyone's saying, well, we're going to raise it. We don't have a choice. We've been raising it since 2002. Senator Pat Toomey, you say perhaps, but there's got to be something else included before you agree to raise the debt ceiling in this country.
Absolutely. I think the most irresponsible thing we could do is just raise the debt ceiling and keep going, spending money the way we have, running up massive deficits and unaffordable debt. So I've said I'm only willing to vote to raise the debt ceiling if we get real spending cuts and we get real reforms in the process that got us into this mess. Now, some on the left who just want to keep growing spending, they say, well, you don't have any choice. You got to raise the debt ceiling or we'll default on our bonds. So I wrote this essay in the Wall Street Journal that makes it clear that the ongoing tax revenue alone is 10 times what we need to service our debt. So there's no need to default on our bonds, and I'm going to introduce legislation to make sure that under no circumstances would we ever default on our bonds. But I really think that it would be a huge mistake to just go along with business as usual, keep on spending and raise the debt ceiling whenever government wants more money.
All right, very interesting take. We'll see how that legislation goes when you propose it. Pat Toomey, thanks so much for joining us, especially to talk about the Afghanistan trip, which I think is so crucial for politicians to see it firsthand. Thank you, sir.